Your mind is a jailer and you gave it the keys. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you found yourself pacing the cells of your own thoughts, replaying mistakes, imagining worst-case scenarios, feeling the walls of worry closing in? You lie awake at 3 a.m., heart pounding, as an endless loop of what-ifs echoes in your head. It's as if overthinking has become your nightly prison warden, patrolling the halls of your mind and refusing to let you rest. The more you try to think your way out, the more entangled you become, caught in an anxiety loop that feeds on itself. You are physically free, but inside you feel trapped. The prison is real, even if its bars are made of thoughts and fears. We often don't realize that we constructed this prison for ourselves. In truth, the mind becomes a self-imposed prison when we give it unchecked power. The mind's job is to think, to analyze, to keep us safe, but left to run wild, it can turn against you. Your inner voice, that running commentary offering critique and judgment, can become the most vicious jailer. It locks you up with harsh words, "I'm not good enough. What if everything goes wrong?" Each self-criticism or fearful prediction is like another bar sliding into place, confining you. We become, in a very real sense, prisoners of our own self-talk. We get ensnared by what some call the monkey mind, restless and unsettled, thoughts swinging chaotically from regret to worry. Over and over, the mind bounces between the past and the future, dredging up old pains, conjuring new anxieties, and in doing so, it neglects the present moment. Inside this mental prison, overthinking turns into a kind of solitary confinement. The same anxious thoughts play on repeat until you can't see beyond them. The mind tells elaborate stories about everything that could go wrong. Ironically, these stories are illusions, dire scenarios that may never happen. In fact, much of our mental suffering comes from these fictional narratives our minds invent to guard us from pain. Your mind becomes a fear factory, manufacturing threats out of thin air. And though the threats aren't real, the fear is. You feel it in your body, the quickened pulse, the tight chest, as you imagine dangers that in reality might never come. In trying to keep you safe, your mind ends up terrorizing you. It's as if your mind believes constant worry will prevent harm, but all it does is keep you locked away from life. Take a moment to realize the weight of that. So many of us live this way, carrying an invisible burden of incessant thought, exhausted by an internal struggle that no one else can see. Perhaps you know this feeling too well. The emotional exhaustion, the fog of constant worry, the sense that you're living on high alert. It's like being stuck in a room with flickering lights and blaring noise, yet it's all inside your own head. You yearn for quiet, for peace, for just a minute of silence from your thoughts. Here's the truth that can start setting you free. You are not your mind. You are not the anxious voice that keeps speaking. You are the one listening to it. The very fact that you can observe your thoughts, that you can say, wow, my mind is really busy and negative right now, means there's a you separate from this thinking mind. This awareness is the first key to unlocking the prison door. Picture those two prisoners in a cartoon holding prison bars in front of their faces while standing in an open field. In the drawing, there are no walls around them at all. The only thing that makes it a prison are the bars they cling to. Our thoughts are like those bars. We hold on to them, look at life through them, and assume we're trapped. But what happens if you let go? What happens if, even for a moment, you step back in your mind and realize the bars aren't actually attached to anything? That awareness, the moment you see your thought patterns for what they are, creates a gap. Through that gap, freedom enters. Awareness is the beginning of liberation. When you become aware of the mind's chatter, you are no longer fully absorbed in it. You can begin to question it gently. Is this thought true? Is it helping me, or is it harming me? You start to see how your mind often behaves like a scared child, or at times a cunning trickster. It shows you upsetting images and says, this will happen if you step out of line. It recalls old hurtful comments from decades ago and tells you, this is why you're not enough. But these are tactics of control, not truths. And now, with awareness, you can say, I see you, mind. I see what you're doing. Just that recognition loosens the thought's grip on you. The mind hates being observed. When you shine a light on it, its once convincing stories start to look flimsy, exaggerated, even absurd. Sometimes, to truly understand our mental prison, we have to look at how it was built. Much of the framework was laid in our childhood. Think back. As children, we absorb beliefs and emotions before we can even speak about them. If you grew up feeling like love had to be earned, maybe through achievement or good behavior, then even now, Your mind likely traps you in loops of people-pleasing and perfectionism. You might constantly worry about others' opinions as if your worth depends on their approval. This is one way childhood conditioning creates mental loops that keep firing in your adult life. Often, our mental prison stems from that childhood need to gain approval and be liked. That drive to not disappoint, to fit in and be praised, becomes a wall in your mind. Every time you even think you've fallen short, the old panic kicks in, the fear that you'll be unloved or rejected, and so the anxious cycle begins anew. Or maybe you grew up in chaos and learned to stay hypervigilant. That inner alarm you developed back then is still running today, scanning for threats even when you're safe, and it's exhausting. If you were hurt or neglected, you may have formed the belief that the world isn't safe or that you must control everything to survive. Those beliefs still loop in the background now, subconscious scripts driving your anxiety. You handed your mind those keys long ago because you didn't know any better. It was how you learned to cope, how you tried to feel safe. Now, though, right now, you have a chance to reclaim those keys and open the door. How? Through the very thing your mind has been avoiding, the present moment. Think about it. Anxiety pulls you into the future, depression pulls you into the past, but peace lives in the present. Every time you manage to bring your attention fully to now, you break a link in those chains. Try it, even as you hear these words. Take a deep breath and feel just that breath. Feel the weight of your body where you sit. Notice the sounds around you as they are, without labeling them. For a few seconds, simply observe what is right now, without judgment. In that state, were you tormented by your prison guard mind? Or did you glimpse a certain stillness? This is the essence of mindfulness, not a buzzword or a fad, but a practice as old as humanity. Mindfulness is the act of paying attention to the present on purpose. It's training yourself to gently return to what is real whenever the mind pulls you into its fabricated fears. It might be as simple as feeling the cool air entering your nose and the warm air leaving, or noticing the vibrant colors of a leaf on a tree, the way sunlight hits it. When you do this, even for a minute, your mind's tight grip loosens. The swirling thoughts may still be there, but they recede into the background. You step into the role of observer or witness of those thoughts. And from that vantage point, you realize you have a choice. You can engage with those thoughts, or you can let them float by. It's not just spiritual talk. Science affirms this too. Research shows that staying grounded in the present can significantly lower stress and anxiety, and even improve mood and overall well-being. In other words, practicing presence literally helps rewire your brain toward calm. Consider it mental training. At first, it might feel impossible to sit quietly for even a minute without being dragged back into the fray by some worry. But with practice, that minute becomes 2, then 5. Over time, you discover that you are stronger than the pull of those anxious loops. You can feel an anxious thought arise. Oh no, what if? And instead of it grabbing you by the collar and tossing you into panic, you simply acknowledge it and let it pass. The thought is like a cloud passing through the sky of your mind. You observe it and watch it drift away. You remain, the vast sky untouched by these passing clouds. Alongside mindfulness comes another gift, inner stillness. In the beginning, it might be just a few seconds of quiet between thoughts, a small clearing in a forest. But that stillness is powerful. It's where you glimpse who you are beneath all the mental noise. Some call it the soul, or pure awareness, or simply being. In that stillness, you realize the prison was never concrete. It was made of shadows. Every moment of inner quiet is like shining sunlight on those shadows, watching them fade. Perhaps you've felt it in moments of awe, looking out at a sunrise or the ocean when for a brief while your mind went silent and there was just presence. In moments like that, you are completely free. The challenge is not to achieve that state. Striving too hard can become its own trap, but to allow it, to give yourself permission to step out of the noise. As you learn to trust the present and cultivate stillness, you also begin to confront one of the deepest barriers to freedom, the illusion of control. So much of our overthinking is an attempt to control the uncontrollable. We plan and predict. We obsess over details. We cling to routines, all in a desperate effort to feel like we have a grip on life. It comes from a well-intentioned place. We all want to avoid pain and uncertainty. But the reality is, control is largely an illusion. Life has its own flow, its own intelligence, operating beyond the reach of even the sharpest human mind. Think of all the times you feared something would happen and it didn't, or something blindsided you out of nowhere. The mind is not a fortune teller, and trying to make it one only generates more anxiety. Here is where a spiritual truth offers immense relief. Surrender. Not surrender as in defeat, but surrender as in trust. Trust that there is a divine order in life, an underlying current carrying us exactly where we need to go. If the word divine doesn't resonate, think of it as the wisdom of the universe or simply the natural order of things. Either way, the idea is to loosen your white-knuckle grip on every outcome. Imagine your life as a flowing river, as one teacher suggests. You could try to swim upstream, fighting the current with all your might, insisting that the river flow your way. That's what the anxious, controlling mind does. But you'll only exhaust yourself, and still, the river will flow where it wants to. Alternatively, you can align yourself with the river's flow. You can float, steer when you need to, but fundamentally trust that the river is taking you somewhere meaningful. This is what it means to surrender to divine order. You stop battling life and start dancing with it. When you surrender this way, something beautiful happens. The heavy burden of responsibility for everything lifts off your shoulders. You realize you don't have to micromanage the universe. You don't have to solve every unknown of the future in your head right now. You can, instead, focus on the step right in front of you and trust that the next step will reveal itself when it needs to. Think of a time you desperately tried to force a solution and nothing improved. Then, when you finally threw up your hands and let go, things either resolved or at least your anxiety eased. By relinquishing the illusion of control, you actually found more peace and often better outcomes. It's a paradox. By giving up the mad quest for control, you gain a genuine sense of inner control. Control over how you respond to life, which is the only control we truly have. All of this, mindfulness, stillness, surrender, comes together to unlock the door of your mental cell. But here's the beautiful twist. You find that the door was never actually locked. It might have been closed, sure, and maybe it felt rusted shut from years of disuse. But locked? The key has always been in your hand. It's been in your hand since the very beginning, since the moment you believed your every thought and handed over your peace of mind. Now you see that key. It starts with awareness, seeing the jailer for who it is, and continues with practice, presence, and trust. Imagine yourself now stepping out of that prison. Maybe at first you just poke your head out, unsure if you really can leave behind the familiar comfort of worry. But you can. Step by step, you emerge. The air is fresher out here, the light is gentler. Sure, life outside has uncertainties. It always will. But now you carry within you a refuge that no external uncertainty can shake. That refuge is your own presence, your connection to something greater, and your trust in the flow of life. You might still hear the old voices calling from the cell. The inner critic might shout an alarm. Get back in here, it's dangerous out there. But you can smile and shake your head. You know better now. You know those voices are just echoes of the past, not prophecies of the future. Whenever you hear them, you can acknowledge them. I hear you, but I'm choosing a different path now, and keep walking forward. Your mind was a jailer only because you allowed it to be. Today, you take back the keys. You turn that key in the lock of each limiting belief, each fear, each painful memory that has held you. You don't fight them. You simply notice them, breathe, and let them go one by one, like unlocking each shackle and watching it fall. In doing so, you transform that once oppressive mind into what it was always meant to be, a tool, a servant to your true self. Remember the old saying, the mind is a wonderful servant but a terrible master. From now on, you are the master. And as master of your mind, you are free to experience life in its fullness, free to feel the wind on your face without bracing for a storm that isn't coming, free to love, to create, to rest and to play, all without the constant shadow of doubt. Yes, challenges will come, life will still happen, but you will meet them from a place of strength and clarity, not from inside a cramped cell of fear. Even when storms rage outside, you can return to that inner stillness at any time. In that stillness, you are safe and whole. So take a breath, feel the gentle power in letting go. This is your life, right here in this moment. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but now and now. Each now is a door to freedom if you choose to step through. Walk out of the prison of your mind into the open air of the present. The jailer is retiring, the prisoner is free, and a new journey, one of peace, of real inner peace, begins right now with you.